Happy Halloween, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we will be diving into the most disturbing things on the internet. Or, I guess, some of them, because the internet is so damn massive. Yeah, we're going to be getting into some heavy stuff, so I'm just putting out a warning. But, without further ado, let's jump straight into it. When we think of the internet, there are lots of different things that we can come across on the internet. Some of the things we come across on the internet give us joy, others make us sad. Some make us feel absolute rage. But one of the most common emotions that one can find on the internet is fear. I'm talking about Googling something you shouldn't or, reading something you shouldn't on the internet that actively causes you fear. And there's so many scary things on the internet itself. But what is the scariest of all of them? What is the king or the queen of scary on the internet? Well, since it's the month of October and it's literally Halloween, I thought I would try and figure out what it is. Previously we discussed the scariest image, but what about the scariest thing in general? Well, unfortunately, there is a lot of bad stuff on the internet. So finding the scariest thing is technically impossible because of how massive the internet is. But there are definitely some contenders. And no, I'm not suggesting scary images or scary creepypastas to be contenders. I mean actual scary stuff, like dangerous scary. This is literally nothing. It's just an image. It's just made out of pixels. I'm talking about stuff that you wish you wouldn't have known about. So, where do we start? Well, let's start off with the most simplest of them all. Dangerous websites. What do I mean by that? Well, I'm talking about sites that steal your data. Even stuff like Facebook and TikTok can steal your data. So we're already getting somewhere. The threat of having your data stolen and sold off is pretty scary. But it's not just that. It's the fact that governments and corporations can use stuff like Facebook, can use stuff like TikTok to spy on people. It's the fact that, on the internet, your data could be out there somewhere for anybody to find. It's the fact that it is so easy to ruin someone's life, in the modern age. If any dick pics you have get leaked on the internet, it's over. You're pretty much screwed for life. But the thing that prevents it from being the scariest is, number one, everybody has social media, so everybody is prone to this. And number two, the government already has your data. It's not like they need the internet to literally steal and harvest your information from it. So what else is super scary? Well, relating to the scary websites topic, on the dark web there exists lots of messed up sites. Stuff like gun and drug buying websites, human/child trafficking websites, Satan worshipping websites, and even websites where you can buy poison. And worst out of all of them, and this is dangerous what I'm going to say, but there are websites on the dark web that you can use to hire hitmen and kill people. Yeah, I'm not even kidding you. Websites that are actually genuinely dangerous. That if I were to tell you right now, you could literally get someone killed with no effort. So anybody who knows about the existence of these websites can harm others. But, to be fair, majority of these kinds of websites are probably set up by the government that lure people onto them so that they can arrest them. So, yeah, there is that. A very fucked up kind of concept that is common on the dark web is these things called red rooms, where it's essentially a concept of a live stream where you can watch someone get tortured. You can even talk to the people who are doing the torture and even donate to them. I thought the EHO Twitch Tier 3 simps were bad, but this is on a whole nother level of bad. You can even request what happens to the victim. However, there are claims that these kinds of websites might be fake, because it is kind of hard to live stream on the dark web, because, Tor only allows a percentage of the maximum internet speed one can have. Candle Cafe was a messed up website I also previously discussed. It's essentially a website where people can fantasize about their cannibalistic desires and even, act them out. There was this case of this guy by the name of Armin Maiwes who literally killed and ate this guy by the name of Bernd Brands. And they met on this website, and it happened in Germany, and it was a pretty big case study that happened in 2004. There are two websites in particular that I can think of that are pretty disturbing. One being a bad disturbing, the other being a good disturbing. So the first one is called Pink Meth, which is a revenge porn website that would allow people to post explicit photos of their exes onto the website in order to get, revenge on them. There was personal info in the messages, and as crazy as this is going to sound, it was actually on the main web, but then eventually got moved to the dark web. But thankfully, in November of 2014, it got shut down. Baby Angel Pics is, the good out of these two. It's a website where you can send a photo of your dead baby and it can get a touch-up and it can get posted. But not in a bad way, in a, remembrance kind of way. Now, to end off the scary websites segment of this video, I will talk about something that's a little funky. Now, there exists websites that you can use to hack people, DDoS people, and even put CP in someone's computer and falsely label them as a predator. Now, I'm not going to say the names of these websites, but if you do end up coming across these websites, you're probably going to get put on a government list because, again, these websites probably are run by the government. So, between all these websites, if I had to nominate a contender for the scariest website, it would be, just in general, probably any exploitation website out there on the internet. But what about disturbing media found on the internet? Well, I have previously discussed the scariest pieces of media, in which the top three were Come and See, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, and August Underground. But I didn't dive into the actual messed up stuff, like snuff films. There's lots of horrible, appalling snuff films out there, and I would honestly have to go into more detail in another video. But to my knowledge, the worst ones are The Most Disturbed Person on Planet Earth, Fucked Up Beyond Any Recognition, and Snuff R73. Apparently, these snuff films are a mixture of torture, some weird fetish stuff, necrophilia, and also CP. It's horrible. Don't watch it. Apparently, Snuff R73 is the worst out of all of them, too, so yeah. Stuff like gore videos, like the Zacatecas flaying, which is probably the worst gore video on the internet, or Funky Town, or even stuff like the lathe/machine incidents that can happen in, warehouses, can all be talked about here. Oh, and there's also the Miss Pac-Man one, which I would also say is the joint worst one out there. And no, I'm not going to go into the topic of CP because I don't even want to research about this stuff, but I do, however, know a really famous fucked up case that has, been spread on the internet called Daisy's Destruction. This was actually so bad. It's about a pedo named Peter Scully who had a 19-year-old girlfriend, and together they kidnapped 2 teens and a toddler. With the 3 people that they had kidnapped, they made videos involving CP, child rape, kids getting beaten and mutilated, and just so much other crazy shit. It's actually wild. Peter Scully would sell these videos for thousands of dollars, and it was actually horrible. But thankfully, this piece of shit got sent to jail for 129 years. So yeah, if I had to pick which piece of media was the worst, I would honestly probably say it's this one. But then lastly, there is also disturbing information that can be found on the web. Reddit is a place where you can find lots of interesting niche topics and things. But on Reddit, you can also find some pretty disturbing things. You can find some absolutely messed up forums that go into fucked up topics. Like, forums that include gore, forums that include, porn, and even some forums go into more disturbing stories and things that have happened to people and personal experiences. For example, a Redditor once posted in a forum asking people who knew that they were gonna die what their experiences were like, which was pretty messed up. And some of the responses were pretty messed up, which I'll link a link to the forum down below. Messed up case studies can also be read across on the internet. An extremely disturbing one that I have previously discussed in a video is the Junko Furuta one. To briefly sum it up, the Junko case was about a 16-year-old girl who got kidnapped by 4 young Japanese teens who relentlessly bullied, tortured, raped, and abused her for 44 days on end. It is reported that she was raped over 500 times by over 100 people. It is probably the worst crime case in history. But, despite all this, the killers of Junko are all free to this day. My video on Junko goes more into detail into this. But what about in the medical field? Like, what is the most disturbing disease or condition that a person can have? Well, possibly the most disturbing disease and condition that is possible, and one of the worst ones, if not the worst one, that I have come across in terms of the way it looks, is Harlequin babies. I would highly recommend you not Google this, because this is actually like some crazy shit. Yeah, like this is no joke. But in terms of medical conditions, this would probably be the worst, not gonna lie. And then there's stuff like, the despair code, which is apparently a code that if you look at, it will curse you and it will ruin your life or something. Because like I said, it emits some negative aura or something. I don't know. Maybe I just cursed everybody in this video by telling you about this, but still. And, yeah. Oh, and I guess there's also some other, like, info hazard contenders that are listed here, so yeah. There are some people that even argue that on the deep web, there exists certain ideas and knowledge and patents that are gatekept from the public by the government. Like, stuff that if it were to get out to the public, big oil companies and pharmacies could no longer profit from. So ideas that would literally curb the profits of massive corporations. To an even more extreme length, there is a theory that there exists a certain layer of the internet that is so hard to access that it's nearly impossible. And the name of it that has been given to it is the Primark system. An internet that is genuinely, truly locked. And stuff that is on there might just be pieces of esoteric knowledge or really messed up, disturbing things that nobody should look at. Well, who knows? But if I had to nominate one for, the most dangerous piece of information, it would probably be the Junko case, because that one was also just horrible. So, between exploitation websites, Daisy's destruction, and the Junko case, while all of them are just horrible in their each unique way, me personally, I think the Junko case is probably the worst one. I mean, like, it's so bad that someone got tortured for that long in just the worst way ever. Like, it's so bad. I'm gonna leave a link, actually, in the description where you can pay homage to Junko Furuta. But yeah, that's it. That's the video. There is actually something that might be more disturbing, though, than anything I previously discussed in this video. I know, it actually gets worse. It's crazy, actually, how bad it can get. And I'm about to tell you this right this second. So buckle in. Drum roll, please. It's actually your mom's sex tape.